Yeah. Good job, Stephanie. Okay, so I wanted to point over here to this row of glasses. I normally, when I'm filming, I will pick up a pair that I think accents the shirt that I'm wearing. However, since today most of the color on me are my physio muscle strips. I don't know what they're called. I decided to go with my super old, check out these super faded glasses. They work really well. And I had a guest over for an interview, podcast interview the other week, and she's like, why do you have so many pairs of glasses? They're all like $3, $5 reading glasses. And I said, I have two really good pairs that I got before I left the US almost 2 years ago now, and I knew I didn't want to wait until those died to buy new ones. So every time I go on vacation, I end up buying more of the kind of just the drugstore ones or ones that you see in stores, department stores and stuff. And so now I have this giant collection of different colored glasses. So if you ever wonder, if you're watching my videos and you think, how many freaking glasses does this woman have? There you go. There you go. Yep. Okay. Story told. So, I'm dealing with a tripod issue. I have to order a new tripod because my smaller tripod that worked the best for this current situation has died. And I didn't realize how much I was using that one until this very moment right now. I swear I look like I have tattoos. I don't. Right. So I haven't actually updated you guys on my study plan for a really long time because it hasn't changed in a really long time, but I do feel the need to start vocalizing the plan because I feel like, not that I'm getting bored because the content, sorry, I'm trying to get comfortable, the content is definitely keeping me interested, but how do I say this? It's the same thing over and over and over, and I'll show you that in a minute. I generally have a few different calendars in my life for different reasons. For example, I have a work calendar on my Google online calendar, and I only click on it when I want to see where I'm working that day. I don't want my work to come into my personal life, and I don't even want my passion project work to come into my personal life. I want my private time to be my private time. So I've kind of accidentally made that happen with different calendars. And it seems a little crazy when I start to itemize them, but there you go. Anyway, I won't show you a month that has stuff written on it, but I have a small pocket calendar that I put places I'm going to. And that could be work and fun, but it's definitely places I have to be end up in here. And that's the most important thing. That's what I look at night to remind myself what I'm doing physically the next day, where I'm going to be physically the next day. But I could not put my study plan in there to save my life. One, it would be too overwhelming, too many things to look at once. And two, my study plan's pretty intense. It just would not fit in that tiny creature, and that tiny creature exists because I can carry it around without adding a ton of bulk to my bag, which is very important as a physically challenged 40-something that is just not able to cope with life physically. Right. So what did I do? I have always been a huge fan of, and I don't have much written on this month, so I'll show you this, of printing up calendars. And this particular kind I got from Vertex 42. I don't even know what that company is. Honestly, years and years and years ago, I just started searching online for printable calendars because I wanted calendars that I could put up when I had like a 3-month plan. I could track something on my wall, that kind of thing. And so I just started using this company's free calendars years and years ago, and I've kept doing it because it's really handy. Literally the beginning of the year, I'll print out about 5 or 6 copies of the year, like 1 month per paper, and I'll do the whole year, and I'll just keep them in my closet. I am out for this year, so I have definitely used all of the ones I printed out. And for 2019, it's coming soon. I'm going to start printing those out. So what I've done is, you can see all the checks mean I've done those things. Yay! This is my August calendar. I have a couple of big goals at the top to remind myself to incorporate into the monthly thing, but generally speaking, I'll have the HSK section that I'm working on. And then I included some flashcard days to remind myself to work on flashcards. I think there's something there to work on flashcards there. Now that doesn't tell you exactly what I'm doing, but it tells me, it doesn't tell either one of us exactly what I'm doing, but it tells me what chapter to carry around that day. And the first time I touch a new chapter, I'll carry the course book and the workbook, and I have them stapled together. I don't have an example of that, but I will also carry the transcripts that look like this. So I'll have both of those. After the first time, right now, I'll only carry the transcripts because I will have already written the grammar stuff on the side, and I already have the vocabulary and the flashcards, and so all of that information's over in there. So what this calendar tells me is what chapter to work on, what stuff to put in my bag, because I'm a mobile learner. I learn in different places depending on what I'm doing and where I am that day. So what I'm doing now is I'm still working on the plan where I'm doing one new chapter of HSK3 every week, and it's actually working okay. I'm floored that I'm doing okay. I'm not going to say great because I can't lie. I suck at languages and that continues, but I'm going forward. That's the important part, right? So in August, I'm doing HSK3, one new chapter a week. I'm doing the new chapter 4 times by the time the test rolls around in December, twice the first week, one more time the following week, and then once again before December hits at different intervals depending on when the chapter is first played with. And I'm being all serious, but I do mean played with, because when I actually sit down and study this stuff, I really like doing it. But the planning part was a bit annoying. I had a lot more time than when I decided to take HSK1 or HSK2. I had part of July, which isn't on here, then August, September, October, November. It's actually the 2nd of December is the test, so I had 4 months, which is pretty good. It's a pretty decent amount of time. Again, I study about an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, depending on what you include in study time. And yes, there are some days that I miss, but I would say probably once a week, maximum. I really don't miss a lot. I feel weird if I don't do some of this every day. I think it's because I am not great at learning languages. It is not one of my top skill sets, so I need frequency to help with that natural ability deficit. And yes, I do believe that some people are more skilled cognitively at learning languages than others, but that does not mean we cannot learn languages. It just means we might have to put our efforts in a slightly different area as we're learning. Can I prove that yet by being fluent in a second language? No, but give me some time. I feel like this year or the beginning of next year, I'm going to have a really big breakthrough where I can actually go, ha, fine, use me as a poster child for people who are sucky at learning languages but can do it anyway. But I'm not ready for that yet. One new chapter a week of HSK3, and the other ones in August were reviews of HSK2. I didn't spend a lot of time on grammar in HSK2, so I'm specifically going through the listening with the transcripts and paying attention to the grammar as I'm doing it. Pay attention. I'm noticing the grammar. I'm not doing heavy, hardcore underlining of grammar points or trying to super understand anything. You super understand a concept in English or any language. But I am noticing, I'm highlighting. And that, for now, that's enough. And that's August, because I've got many review chapters in HSK2. I'll spend 1 day on those each day. And actually, oh, that was last night, or that's today? No, today is the last chapter of HSK2. Huh, I've actually done it. I thought the study schedule was a bit ambitious, but because I've altered how I'm doing the new chapters, I think it's made it more approachable, and I'll explain that in a minute. So, and I thought I didn't have anything to say today. Okay, so yeah, the last part of HSK2 is today. Now I'm still going to review it one more time before the test, because just noticing the grammar versus being comfortable with all of the vocabulary and grammar and sentences and idioms and all that, it's not the same thing at all. So awareness is good, but then there's understanding, right? So that's August. So it's like 5 or 6 days a week of HSK review, usually through the transcripts of the listening. So I'm not touching any reading or writing practices in August. In September, I have 3 I have 4 big goals that I haven't incorporated into the plan yet. Sorry, if I'm looking weird sometimes, it's because they're painting our apartment building, and they have these giant cords where they're like coming up and down the building, and they keep moving, and I'm wondering if somebody's going to suddenly appear in front of me painting the side next to the window. I'll let you know if that happens. I'll try to turn the phone around so we can all have fun with this, but I also don't want to scare the person and have them fall off their platform. That would be awful. September, I have 4 main things that aren't incorporated yet. So clearly I need to plan for September before tomorrow when it starts. So one of them, one's pretty easy. On my flashcard days, I need to make sure that the tones are back on the flashcards. They've kind of fallen off the new cards, and I need to just go through the ones I'm working on and make sure that the tones are there. The second one is I'm batting around when to start some italki lessons. I feel like I've gotten to the point where I can make some questions about the newer HSK3 content, so I'm thinking this might be a good time to start doing that, to get some basic clarification questions down in Chinese, which I've never really approached before, and to just start working on my buffoon talking strategies. It's not for sure if it's going to happen in September or October, but we'll see what happens. It is an idea. I have to start making more flashcards of the collocations, not just the individual words. And I think I've already started organically doing that from picking out bits from the listening. And then I need to start doing the actual reading exercises in the course book, not just focusing on the reading the transcripts and outlining things in there. Not outlining, but underlining and trying to understand things in there. I probably have a 5th thing that I want to include in that, which is to start, it's kind of part of the italki thing. I was thinking, instead of just asking questions, of putting like a little blurb next to the listening thing on what I think the conversation that's happening in the listening, in the transcripts, but in the listening, because I'm listening and reading at the same time. I was thinking of like doing a little summary of what I think is happening in that conversation, and then having my italki person help me out with that and help me understand if that is or isn't. If it is, then check, move on to the next one. But if it isn't, help me understand what's happening in the sentence that makes it mean something different than that. So I was actually thinking, so that's actually part of the italki one, is but there's more prep because I have to do the meaning summary on the side first. But I think that will take me from reading ability to reading comprehension, which is not something that I've really approached that much yet with HSK3, because it's been a very big mountain to go from HSK2 to HSK3, and I'm surprised I've gotten this far. I really, really thought I was going to get more discouraged earlier. But let me talk about that a little bit later. So September, with those 4 goals that haven't been incorporated yet, I've still got a new chapter of HSK3 every week. So we're covering chapters 8, 9, where did 10 go? HSK 10 is missing in action, but I also have chapters 11 and 12. Where the heck did chapter 10 go? Oops. Okay, I have to rework that a little bit. And then I'm reviewing HSK 1, because it's been a while, and since I'm not very good at retaining this stuff, I'm going to just keep reviewing at random intervals. It also helps with the newness of the HSK3. If I do an HSK3 chapter one day and then I do an HSK 1 or 2 chapter the next day, I find that my confidence and motivation goes up again because I'm able to understand more in the older stuff, and then I'll come back to the newer stuff. So it kind of reinforces how much I have learned and helps me understand that with time, I'll understand the stuff in HSK3 as well, which is nice. So I'm doing it. So I'm reviewing HSK 1 starting in September, and I believe continuing in October. Yep, and that's it. So September and October, the review sessions are the HSK 1. They'll probably go really fast, so I might actually need to dig into the reading and writing. There aren't writing activities in HSK 1. I'll probably need to dig into the reading activities and do some other things within HSK 1 to review that properly. That's probably when I'll take the collocations out and do some different things. So it'll give me some time to tidy up and go a bit deeper into the content that I whizzed through the first time. And by whiz, I mean quick, not genius. So that's September and October. Oh, and then a goal for October I have is to start typing on a computer keyboard. I'm going to be in October signing up for, as soon as the test is available to register, I'm going to be signing up for the computer program. And although I know how to do opinion input on mobile devices like this phone that I'm recording on, I don't know how to do it on a computer yet. I can't imagine it would be much different since it's still opinion input that I'll be using. Oh, I need to check that with the center when I register, but I'm 99% sure that is how it is, because I've heard people complain that it's not real writing because you're using opinion input. I don't feel the need to take a side. I find it very useful. I guess I just took a side. Anyway, so I want to start typing on my laptop. It'll probably happen before then, but I want to definitely do that then. And register for the test is the only other extra goal I have for October. And then that's it, just the same HSK3 and HSK1. November comes, and I'm finishing up HSK3, chapters 18, 19, 20. We're still looking for chapter 10. I gotta find that guy later. And then I'm going to be doing reviews of some of the HSK3 earlier chapters as well. I generally, chapters 18, 19, 20, I don't need to review very much at that point because I'll have just done them before a few weeks before the test. So I'll probably glance at them a few days or a week before the test. But generally I want to reach back into chapters 1 through 10 the most because they're the furthest away study time wise. And that's it. And then the test is on the 2nd of December. So I'm giving myself some time to review and to breathe before taking that test because that is going to kick my ass. Also starting in September, not part of my study plan, but I did put it on the calendar that I have here, is my podcasting production schedule. I have 3 podcasts, and unlike the last time I was producing and editing and interviewing all at the same time and driving myself crazy, I've actually done a ton of interviews last week and this week, and I'm in massive edit mode now. And by the time the first season starts, the beginning of September, oh my God, in 4 days, I will have a large portion of the prep for the episodes done, and I'm going to very methodically on my weeks when I don't work a lot, in addition to my tiny studying, work away at editing those and getting them up in the cloud with their predetermined dates. I have 8 episodes I actually made a plan for that too. I have 8 episodes for all 3 podcasts. They're coming out every 2 weeks, much to my chagrin. I was going to do monthly, and I hate the idea of a monthly podcast. I think it leaves too much space between ideas, and I would love to do weekly, but I do not have the mental space for that right now. So I've got 8, and they're coming out at slightly different times, but there's 8 for each of the 3 podcasts, including the Changing Scripts podcast. That will preview since this is the sister project. That is the first one, it's the second one to preview on September 4th. And I don't want to tell you who's in that one yet because I'm still dealing with some technical issues. So that will partially determine who gets the first slot. But yeah, September 4th is the first interview that comes into that podcast. But I'm pretty excited to have, by Sunday, I'll have at least 75 to 80% of the interviewing done. And I'll have a really firm grip on the editing. So instead of doing like 3 or 4 or 5 podcast edits in this 1 week that I'm doing this week, when I worked one day this week, then I can do like 1 or 2 edits per week from here on out and still be ahead of the game. So that was really important because I really drove myself a little bit crazy trying to do interviewing and editing while still doing 1.5 to 2 hours of Chinese studying a day, especially when I got close to the deadline of taking the HSK2 test. I was nearly pulling my hair out. I love studying Mandarin Chinese and I love doing the podcasts, but with mismanaging my time, it was just crazy. So I want to send a special thank you out to Elizabeth Gilbert, who I do not know, but I adore because her book, Big Magic, really, really, really made me realize that creative energy ebbs and flows, and you need to make space for the downtimes. You need to, she said in chapter 5, which is the revelatory chapter that I've probably mentioned before, and if you hate Eat, Pray, Love, just shut up and listen, because there's a difference between the art that somebody creates and how they can talk about creativity. And you can give or take, eat, pray, love. It was a lovely story. It wasn't my favorite work of art in the world, but Elizabeth Gilbert is absolutely genius when she talks about the creative process and about the creators and what they can do to lead a sane life while still creating stuff. And I forgot the thought that I was going to say, which was so revelatory. Oh, she said that she noticed that her creativity comes in seasons. And once I heard that, I just had this whoosh come over me. And I thought, that is brilliant. And that's when I decided to go on hiatus for the summer for my podcast. And it gave me a lot of time to rethink, regroup, organize, put up a portfolio page with all of my projects on one site that you'll see below, my Weebly page. And kind of just organize, rethink, talk about, oh, hold on. I thought that was my dinner at the door. It is not. It is just two neighbors talking very loudly. Anyway, so I felt like it reminded me that I don't have to do everything all the time. And so I took the time off for the summer, reconfigured a few billion things, rethought a few things, brought back one of the old podcasts that I thought had died. And that is the most vigorous one right now. And you'll see what that means in a week when the first episode comes out. But I feel like it's really important to balance what you're doing. I love everything that I'm doing right now. But that balance was really, really, really tricky the first year and a half. I feel like now I finally have some semblance of balance going on, at least when it comes to these two 5, 10, whatever, however many projects they are. I feel like I finally have some balance in there. And with the August one, since it's the first month of this new thing, and with tons of interviews, so I've already been doing podcasting stuff with it, I've still gotten through all of the HSK chapters that I've wanted, which is, I did not expect that to actually work. I thought I'd have to erase everything because I plan in pencil. Good tip. But I did. Some days I ended up doing 2 listenings on one day because I was only able to do the flashcards the day before and I couldn't actually do the HSK chapter. And that worked out okay because, like I said, I'm rotating between a review chapter and a new chapter. So it still worked out okay to do 2 hours of listening versus 1 hour of listening for that day. I don't like doing that often because I feel like I need every day. I need input every day, but it happens. And a lot of times when that happened, the few times that happened, it was life stuff. And IRL comes first. In real life stuff comes first. Family and friends come first. So when that happened, I gladly just drew an arrow over to the next day and was like, I'll just do these 2 tomorrow. And it worked. I still got through all of it, and I feel like I learned a ton. Still passively accepting the input into my brain, and eventually it will come out. So that's it. That's what I've been up to planning-wise. I don't do many videos on this because it's like HSK Chapter 1, HSK Chapter 3, HSK Chapter 5, and it doesn't really feel like a lot to share. But I thought I would update you anyway, since there's the added complication of the podcast, and we're quickly approaching when I register for the test. I want to register now, but they won't let me register until October. So I'm a little annoyed with that. Anyway, that is my scheduling video. I guess that's what this is called. Scheduling, balancing, seasons of study. Seasons in the sun. Oh yeah, childhood coming back to me as I forgot to put the AC on before I started this video, so I'm stinking hot as hell. All right, so what is your study plan? How do you keep going? How do you know what to do next? I'm cheating by using HSK chapters to progress me from one topic or one set of grammar points to the next, but what do you do? I'm super curious, especially for folks who are studying Chinese, or especially for folks who are studying Chinese at a high level. What do you study? How do you know how much, how often? All that kind of good stuff. Very curious. Leave some comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this kind of planning rambly video, give me a thumbs up. I don't usually do this, but yeah, I don't know. I'm feeling a need to push past 100-some subscribers, but only if y'all are interested. I don't want to buy subscribers. I don't want people who aren't watching. I want folks who are interested in language learning and or the Chinese language, or both, which would be the ideal scenario. Anyway, 再见.